My parents sold my PC on Black Friday to buy my sister a new iPhone, so I disappeared. And what happened next shattered them. I'm a 17-year-old guy, and in my house, that basically translates to the invisible one. My parents always say stuff like, "You've always been so easy. We're lucky you're not demanding like Bella." They mean it as a compliment, I think, but it never felt like one. What they really mean is, we don't have to consider your feelings because you never make noise. Bella is 15. She cries when the Wi-Fi lags, throws tantrums over the wrong cereal, and somehow ends up rewarded for it. When I needed new shoes for school, I was told, "Yours still have a few months left." When Bella wanted designer boots for a TikTok dance, my mom ordered them the same day. I didn't even complain. I just told myself, it's fine. You're the older one. Be mature. Being low maintenance became my entire personality. I did my homework, washed the dishes without being asked, fixed our printer when it jammed, and never raised my voice. I thought maybe one day they'd notice me for that. Maybe they'd say, "We're proud of you. We see how much you carry without asking for anything." But they never did. They noticed Bella's wants, Bella's moods, Bella's wish list, and me? I was the background noise. It's like I was emotionally conditioned to not want too much, not need too much. And eventually that became truth. I stopped asking even when I should have. I didn't realize how deep that damage ran. Until the day they took the one thing I'd built for myself. And that was the day I stopped being the easy one. If there was one thing in the world I could say was mine, it was my PC. I built it myself, piece by piece, over 2 long years. I'd mow lawns, babysit my neighbor's twins, sell old books, and even repair busted electronics for classmates just to scrape together the money. Every component I installed felt like a small rebellion. Like I was carving out a space in the world that didn't belong to Bella, or my parents, or their expectations of who I was supposed to be. My setup wasn't flashy, but it was powerful enough. I had a secondhand monitor, a solid graphics card, and a decent CPU. I used it to learn coding, to design little indie game levels, and occasionally to play with online friends who knew me not as the quiet one, but as someone who mattered. It sat on a desk I built from 2 cinder blocks and an old wooden door I found near a construction site. Nothing about it was handed to me. Every wire, every boot up, every pixel on the screen, I earned it. It was the one place I felt smart, respected, in control. I didn't even care about being popular or rich. I just wanted that, something to call my own. My parents didn't understand it. "You spend too much time in that dark room," my mom would say. "It's not healthy," my dad added once, peeking in like I was some kind of addict. But they let it be because I never asked for more. I thought maybe for once they were respecting my boundary. I had no idea how wrong I was. Because when Black Friday came, they crossed a line they couldn't uncross. The morning started like any other. A little too cold for November, my breath fogged up the window as I stared outside, thinking about the PC part deals I'd scouted all week. I had saved up just enough for a RAM upgrade, finally going from 8 to 16 gigs. It doesn't sound like much, but to me, it meant smoother frames, faster renders, and a step closer to the dream. I stretched, tossed on a hoodie, and headed toward my desk. And froze. My heart did this weird drop, like the air got sucked out of the room. The desk was empty. No PC tower. No monitor. No keyboard. Not even the mouse. Just cables sticking out like dead veins dangling off the edge. For a second, I thought maybe someone had broken in. I rushed out of my room, panic rising in my throat. But the living room was calm, too calm. The heater hummed, the TV murmured with morning news, and the smell of eggs drifted from the kitchen. I saw Bella first, scrolling on her phone. Not just any phone, a brand new iPhone 14 Pro, purple case and all. My mom was humming, flipping pancakes. My dad was on the couch, sipping coffee like it was just another lazy Friday. "What? What happened to my computer?" I finally asked, voice shaking. My mom turned to me casually, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Oh, we sold it last night. Bella needed a phone and it was Black Friday. Great deals, just like that. No warning, no permission. The one thing that was mine, gone for the sake of someone who already had everything. I didn't even know what to say. But whatever was about to come out, it wouldn't be quiet. At first, I genuinely thought it was a joke. I stared at my mom, waiting for her to crack a smile, say, "Gotcha," and point me toward a surprise upgrade hidden in the garage or something. But no. She just turned back to the stove, humming like she hadn't just ripped a part of me out from under my feet. "You sold my PC?" I said, louder now. "Without telling me? Without even asking?" "It's not that serious," my dad chimed in, barely looking up from his coffee. Bella's phone was glitching. "She's been asking for a new one for months." Bella didn't even glance up. She just giggled at something on her screen and muttered, "Thanks, fam," like this was some Christmas commercial. "You said you didn't care about material things," my mom added. "You always say you're fine without much." And she needed this. It was the responsible thing to do. Responsible? Selling the only thing I owned of value, something I built from scratch just to feed Bella's obsession with Instagram filters? My voice cracked as I said, "That computer was mine. I paid for every part." "Technically," my dad said, "you used our electricity, our house, our Wi-Fi. Don't act like we haven't supported you." I stood there trembling. I wasn't just angry. I felt violated, robbed. But what hurt most wasn't even the loss of the machine. It was the message behind it. Your things aren't really yours. Your needs aren't real. Your silence is consent. And in that moment, something inside me broke, and not in a dramatic, screaming kind of way. It was quieter than that, sharper, final. Dinner that night was eerily normal, at least for them. They ordered Bella's favorite, Alfredo pasta with extra garlic bread. I came downstairs late, still dazed, hoping maybe they'd say something. Apologize. Offer a plan to replace it. Anything. But no one looked up. Bella was too busy taking pictures of her plate, probably crafting the perfect post. My dad was watching a game on his phone. My mom was scrolling through Pinterest. It was like I didn't exist. I sat down and quietly asked, "So, are we going to talk about what happened today?" My mom didn't even pause. "Don't start this again. We already explained." "You didn't explain," I said, the knot in my chest tightening. "You just decided." She sighed like I was the inconvenience. "Look, we did what we had to do. It's not the end of the world. Not for you," I said. "Because nothing you care about was taken," Bella snorted. "It's just a computer. Chill." That word just set something off in me. That machine had been my entire world, my escape, my purpose. But when I looked around the table, I saw it clearly for the first time. I was the only one hurting, and no one cared. That was the moment I knew I didn't belong in this house. Not as a son, not as a brother, not even as a person. I pushed my plate away and stood up. My mom barely looked at me. "If you're going to be dramatic, at least rinse your dish." I didn't say anything. I just walked upstairs and shut my door. And by the time the sun rose again, I had made my decision. I barely slept that night. My mind kept replaying the sound of Bella's laughter, my mom's indifference, my dad's tone, cold, transactional, like I was an employee who'd overstepped. Around 5 a.m., I sat up, stared at my empty desk, and made a decision I didn't think I'd ever make. I grabbed my old backpack, stuffed in 2 shirts, my sketchbook, a toothbrush, and my wallet. No plan, no destination, just a single thought repeating in my head, if I stay, I'll disappear completely. The house was quiet when I left. My parents' bedroom door was shut, and the hallway light flickered softly like even the house didn't want to see me go. I walked past Bella's room. She was snoring softly, her new iPhone glowing with notifications. For a second, I almost left a note. Something like, "I'm done being invisible," but I didn't owe them that explanation. The morning air bit against my face as I stepped outside. I remember the smell of frost, the crunch of gravel under my sneakers, and how freezing it felt, but also how light I suddenly was. I texted my friend Levi. "Hey, can I crash at yours for a few days?" He replied instantly, "Oh, what happened?" When I told him the truth, there was a long pause, then, "Come over. Mom says it's fine." Levi's house was only a 20-minute bus ride away, but it felt like crossing a border into another world, one where people actually noticed when you hurt. His mom hugged me at the door, no questions asked, just warmth. "You can stay as long as you need," she said, handing me a blanket. And that night, lying on their couch with borrowed pillows, I realized something wild. My parents hadn't even texted, not a single call, not one. 3 whole days. That's how long I was gone before my parents even noticed. No missed calls. No "where are you" texts. Not even a passive-aggressive message from my mom. Levi kept asking, "Are you sure they know you're gone?" And every time I said, they have to. But deep down, I wasn't so sure anymore. Maybe I'd become so invisible that even my absence didn't register. Levi's mom, Mrs. Carter, was the complete opposite of what I was used to. She'd make me tea, ask if I needed laundry done, even bought me a USB keyboard when she heard why I'd left. She didn't press, but she cared, in small, quiet ways. The kind of ways that meant everything. On the third morning, she knocked on the door with her phone in hand. "It's been 3 days, honey. I think it's time we let someone official know you're here, just to be safe." I nodded. My voice cracked when I said, "Okay." She called the school counselor to explain the situation. Within hours, my school called my house, and that's when it finally happened. My mom picked up, and her response? "Oh, he's just being dramatic. He does this sometimes. I don't even do this. I've never once run away. I've never even been late to school." Levi was listening from the hallway. When he heard it, he muttered, "Dude, that's cold." That was the moment something inside him shifted, too. He stopped treating this like I was just crashing for fun. He saw it, all of it, for what it was. But then came the twist I wasn't expecting. Later that night, the school counselor called back. "Because you're a minor and haven't been home in 3 days?" she said gently. "A CPS welfare check has been triggered." The CPS agent showed up the next morning, a woman named Ms. Hawthorne. She had calm eyes, a notebook, and a way of speaking that made you feel like you could breathe for a second. She sat with me and Mrs. Carter in the living room while Levi hovered nearby, pretending to play Xbox but clearly listening to every word. "I just want to understand why you left," she said gently. "Start from wherever feels right." So I told her. Everything. The favoritism, the years of being overlooked, how they sold my computer without even asking. Her face stayed neutral, but she kept scribbling notes. When I mentioned that my parents still hadn't contacted me, her pen paused mid-sentence. Later that evening, she visited my parents. I don't know what they told her, but I know what happened afterward, because suddenly, they were the victims. Bella posted a crying selfie on Instagram with the caption, "I just want my big brother back, I miss you." My mom posted some vague quote about ungrateful children. My dad emailed the school saying I was manipulated by outsiders and that they feared for my mental health. It was like they were scrambling, not to fix anything, but to control the narrative. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about how they looked. Even Ms. Hawthorne seemed surprised. She called again and asked, "Do you feel unsafe if we return you home?" I said no. But then I added, "I don't feel seen there either." Her tone shifted. "That's important," she said. "We're going to keep your case open. In the meantime, we're going to explore temporary placement options." And for the first time in my life, I felt something I'd never associated with adults before. Protected. A week later, I was asked to meet with Ms. Hawthorne again, this time at the CPS office. It was a plain room with pale yellow walls and a table that smelled faintly of bleach. But I wasn't nervous. I felt ready. Like I'd carried around silence for so long that finally being asked to speak was a kind of relief. She started soft. "Tell me about home, really." So I did. I told her how I was the easy one, how Bella's every whim was treated like a crisis, and how I'd been expected to carry the weight in silence. I explained how I'd paid for my PC with my own money. I even showed her screenshots of my part receipts, a photo of the setup, and Bella's posts flaunting her new iPhone with captions like, "When you get what you deserve." She was quiet for a long time after that. Then she said, "Do you feel like they ever ask how you're doing? What you want?" I looked at her and replied, "They only ask when it's about Bella." She nodded slowly. "Okay, I believe you." That line hit me harder than anything. I believe you. No one had ever said that to me when it came to my family. It had always been, "She didn't mean it," or "Let it go," or "Don't make waves." But not this time. This time, my words didn't bounce off a wall. They landed. She leaned forward and said, "Given everything, I'm going to recommend extended temporary placement. You're not in trouble. You're being heard." And as I walked out of that building, I felt something I'd never known I needed: validation. The official report came 2 days later. CPS decided I could remain temporarily with Levi's family while my case stayed open. My parents were issued a formal warning, something about emotional neglect and inappropriate discipline. It wasn't an arrest, but it wasn't nothing either, and for the first time, they were the ones being watched. Mrs. Carter sat me down gently and said, "They're going to have to attend counseling sessions. Parenting education, too." She tried to make it sound like a positive step, but I could see the hesitation in her eyes. She didn't want to get my hopes up, and honestly, I didn't want them up either. Bella's phone was temporarily confiscated as part of the CPS intervention. Apparently, some of her posts were flagged during the investigation, things mocking me, subtweeting me, even joking about how crybabies can't handle jokes. She freaked out. I heard through Levi's cousin that she screamed at my mom for hours. "This is your fault," she'd yelled. "He was nobody, and now everyone's talking about him." That line stuck with me. I was nobody to her. A ghost in my own home. Now, that ghost had a voice. And people were finally listening. I didn't feel triumphant, just grounded. Like something that had been tilted for years was finally starting to level out. CPS checked in twice more that week. Each time they asked if I felt safe, supported, stable, and each time I answered honestly, "Yes, here, I do." Meanwhile, back at my parents' house, the energy was shifting. My dad stopped going into work. My mom pulled back from her friend group. The perfect family image they curated for years was starting to crack, but the real cracks hadn't even formed yet. That would come next, when my dad showed up at my school. It was the middle of third period when the office aide walked into my classroom and handed a slip to my teacher. "Your dad's here to see you," she whispered. The entire room shifted, heads turned, eyes followed me as I gathered my stuff and made my way to the front. I hadn't spoken to him in nearly 2 weeks. He was waiting in the front office, arms crossed, jaw clenched. He didn't look like a concerned father. He looked like a man about to scold an employee for messing up paperwork. We were barely out the door when he snapped, "You've humiliated this family." I blinked. "You mean by telling the truth? This? CPS nonsense, Levi's mom, your little pity party. It's gotten out of hand. Bella's being bullied online. Your mother hasn't slept." I wanted to laugh, but it came out bitter. "And none of that mattered when you sold my computer without asking?" He didn't respond, just kept walking beside me like a shadow that refused to fall behind. "I hope you're happy," he muttered. "You've made a mess." "No," I said quietly. "You made a mess. I just stopped cleaning it up for you." That stopped him. For a second, he looked at me like he was actually seeing me, really seeing me. And maybe it scared him because his next move was pure deflection. "This is ruining our reputation." There it was. Not "how are you?" Not "I'm sorry." Reputation. I turned to face him fully. "I'm not coming back, Dad. Not like this. And if you try to force it, I'll tell CPS everything. Again." He stared at me. Then without a word, he turned and walked back to his car. And I stood there alone. But for the first time, it didn't feel lonely. It felt like standing on my own 2 feet. The email came on a Wednesday afternoon, while I was helping Levi troubleshoot his printer for a school project. I wasn't expecting much. I'd applied to this summer coding boot camp months ago, just for the hell of it. I didn't even tell anyone. I figured there'd be kids with better equipment, better portfolios, better last names. But the subject line stopped me cold. "Congratulations, you've been awarded a full scholarship." I must have read it 5 times before I let myself believe it. It was real, tuition covered, housing covered, even a modest stipend. It felt like the universe was handing me a key and saying, "Run." I showed Levi the email. He screamed so loud his mom came running, thinking we'd broken something. When I told her, she hugged me so tightly I thought I'd burst. "I knew you had it in you," she whispered. "I just wish it hadn't taken all this pain for someone to finally see it." I didn't cry. Not then, but something in me cracked open in the best way. Like I'd been holding my breath for years, and this was the first inhale that didn't burn. The PC they took? It was gone. But the knowledge, the skills, the passion, that stayed with me. Levi helped me update my gear list using his spare parts. His mom even offered to drive me to the boot camp orientation in a few months, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't behind anymore. I wasn't just the kid fixing everyone else's problems. I was building something of my own. But just when things were looking up, another message came through. A DM from someone I hadn't expected to hear from. Bella. I saw the notification while scrolling through my old art account, the one I hadn't touched since freshman year. Bella sent you a message. It wasn't from her main account. It was some throwaway username, barely any followers, no profile picture. I almost deleted it on sight. But curiosity got the better of me. The first message just said, "Please come home." Things are bad. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. After everything, after she laughed in my face, called me dramatic, watched them sell my PC, now she wanted to talk? Then the flood came. Mom barely talks anymore. Dad's furious all the time. They're blaming each other. Blaming me. I didn't know they were really going to sell it. I'm sorry. That last line hung there, blinking. I'm sorry. I didn't know what to do with it. I wanted to scream at her, ask why she didn't stand up for me when it counted. Why she was okay being the favorite as long as it benefited her. But I also remembered, she's just 15, maybe too young to see the damage she was a part of. Maybe she was drowning in the same system, just wearing a prettier life vest. Still, I didn't respond. Not because I hated her, but because I wasn't ready to go back. Not even in conversation. Her messages kept coming every couple days. Updates, guilt, apologies, even photos of my empty room. And yet, with everyone she sent, my decision felt clearer. They were falling apart not because I left, but because they built a home on top of someone they thought would never leave. And now, the foundation was finally crumbling. I used to think I was the one who hit rock bottom the night they sold my PC. But I was wrong. That wasn't my rock bottom, it was the moment I started climbing. The real crash came for them. Levi's cousin, who lives a few houses down from my parents, started texting me updates, unfiltered, raw. Dude, your dad flipped out at Bella in the driveway yesterday. Whole neighborhood heard. Your mom hasn't shown up to her book club in 2 weeks. Someone from her job came to the house. Looked serious. Then the biggest one. Rumors going around your dad lost one of his biggest clients. Something about domestic issues making him unreliable. It wasn't public scandal. No front page drama, just slow unraveling. Mom stopped posting her picture-perfect meals. Bella deactivated her socials. Dad started avoiding the neighbors. It was like someone dimmed the spotlight they'd lived under their whole lives, and they couldn't stand the dark. What broke them wasn't just me leaving. It was the mirror my absence held up. All the cracks they painted over with matching outfits, Instagram filters, and forced holiday smiles, finally visible. And the weirdest part? I didn't feel triumphant. There was no rush of revenge or they got what they deserved high. Just silence. Just peace. Like I'd been stuck in a haunted house for years and I finally walked outside. And now they were trapped in it. With all the lights turned on, I could have gone back. Reinserted myself. Tried to fix it, but I wasn't a Band-Aid anymore. They created the mess. And now? They were finally forced to live in it. I didn't go back. Not even for a visit. But I did something that felt even harder. I forgave them. Not in a big, dramatic way. I didn't call, didn't send a letter, didn't respond to Bella's DMs with a grand emotional monologue. I just sat on Levi's porch one evening watching the sun dip behind the trees and let it go. The bitterness, the resentment, the weight of not being enough. I wrote it all down in my notebook. Every word I'd wanted to scream. Every memory that kept replaying like a bad movie. Every time I felt like furniture in my own house. Then I closed the notebook and didn't open it again. Forgiveness, I realized, wasn't about letting them off the hook. It was about letting myself step out of the shadow. They'll probably never see what they did. Not fully. They'll twist it into something convenient. He overreacted, or he just wanted attention. That's fine. Because I don't need their apology to heal. I don't hate them. I don't wish them harm. but I also don't owe them access to the person I'm becoming. Bella might mean her apologies now. Maybe one day we'll talk, maybe not. But I've learned that peace doesn't come from closure. It comes from choosing yourself, even when no one else will. And for the first time in my life, I don't feel like I'm running away. I feel like I'm walking toward something better, toward a version of me that isn't defined by what they took, but by what I decided to build anyway. I'm 18 now, living in a small dorm at the tech institute that believed in me before my own family did. My desk is cluttered with energy drink cans, notebooks full of game mechanics, and wires snaking around a PC I built from scratch again. I paid for it with internship money from the coding startup that offered me a remote position after the summer boot camp. It's not top of the line, but it runs like a dream. It's mine. No one questioned if I deserved it. No one took it away. Every time I power it on, I feel something quiet but powerful. Control. I still think about home sometimes. Mostly in fragments. My mom's perfume. My dad's heavy footsteps. The sound of Bella's laugh echoing through the walls. But they don't hold power over me anymore. Not even their absence does. Last week, I got an email from my old school counselor. She just wanted to check in. She said, "You've come so far. I'm proud of you." I read that line 3 times before I realized I was crying, because sometimes all it takes is one adult, one person, to see you. And sometimes it takes losing everything to realize it never defined you. My parents? They haven't called in months. And I've stopped waiting, because I'm not their invisible son anymore. I'm not the backup plan, the easy one, the sacrifice. I'm the kid who rebuilt himself from the scraps they left behind, and every time I hit compile on a new project, or open a fresh line of code, I think, they sold my escape, but I built my freedom. And this time, no one gets to touch it but me.